Hey everyone, this is Dante, and today I am excited to talk more about inner child work with you because what is more fun than liberating the traumatized aspects of ourselves? Well, it really does lead you to allow that more playful nature within you to come forth and spread that joy into the world, to let you connect with your most natural state of being, how you really want to present yourself. Because in our childhood, we push away everything that's not accepted, everything that's not allowed emotionally, our desires, the way we want to express ourselves. And inner child work is the way that we go and we allow ourselves to feel within our child what they really felt and ask them what they want. When we do this, well, what they need more specifically, what they need and what they want, because they're a little bit different. But anyway, when we do this, we change our past quite literally because there's many different dimensions of time and space. The future and the past are they're always changing. So even science shows us that we don't actually remember the real past, and we because every time we replay that memory, we create a new memory. We have different layers to it. And the memory that we play in our mind always has an emotional charge that affects our future and our now reality. Inner child work allows us to go back to re-experience the past, to release the emotional charge, to see what we learned about ourselves, to see where our beliefs came from, implant new beliefs, implant a new memory in our consciousness so that that old script, that old film that's playing in our head stops. So watch my video about inner child work in the description to learn more about that process. I want to talk about my experience with a memory that I uncovered and how I experienced that memory emotionally and how it's really been a big game changer for me. And in another video, I'll talk about how this ties into entities, because this memory was one in which an entity did affect me, believe it or not. And so this was a memory from the second grade. It was one of the best years of elementary school. All of my friends from that time of my life were together in the same classroom, and our teacher was really silly. And we did a lot of funny things, though we played an Easter egg hunt one time. It wasn't actually hunting for those plastic Easter eggs with the candy in them. It was hunting for these eggs that were taped on the wall with a little number or a letter on them, and we had to go and we had to find as many of them as we can and then write what it said on a piece of paper. They are very well hidden, and we were really encouraged, or not encouraged, we were warned not to cheat and how bad it would be to cheat, and we were threatened with some punishment or something. And the prize was Pikachu, and I wanted Pikachu so bad. So I went and I did the very naughty thing, and during the game I looked at other people's papers, and I was one of the first people to win, and I got the toy I wanted. Though when I received the toy, I instantly started feeling guilty. So I went back into this memory, as it was a memory that, as a child with this Christian programming to think of your sins and release your sins, there were certain memories that I would replay and feel so bad about. And just this guilt was like a monster that would live within me. And up until I started doing this inner child work 5-6 years ago, there was still these like monsters of guilt and shame hidden in me, and still the process is in liberating these emotions. And this is a good point to say that the point of spiritual practice is not to never feel sadness or anger or anything like that ever again. We still experience those, and my bouts of anger are as loud, they're not that loud, but they're not infrequent, and I feel them fully. I don't resist the anger anymore. I don't fight it. I don't make it wrong. And it just clears through my system really quickly. There's no kind of recovery or rebound from it. It's just like, this is what's happening, and I'm back on track. It was a glitch in the system, because that's what it is. The emotions show us when we are kind of believing something that is a false perception, when we are behaving in ways that aren't in our highest good. These emotions come up, and when they're allowed and they're not suppressed, they're healthy. But when they're suppressed and there's a lot of these really deep negative beliefs about ourselves and a lot of really big resistances to feel certain ways and get in touch with certain aspects of ourselves because of this trauma, because of this oppression from our childhood, then these emotional loops are always playing again and again and again. Okay, back to the story. So I'm all over the place today. It's fun. Um, when back in that memory, I felt so guilty, and I confessed to the teacher that I cheated, I was bad, and she was very stern with me. She took the toy back, she sent me back to my seat, and in reliving this memory, I remember how cold the desk was, and I could not do anything to lift my head off the desk. I was just crying and crying, and the other children tried to console me, and, oh, we'll give you our toy, and that was like the worst. And I actually, there was so much trauma around this memory that I couldn't remember the details of did I actually take the toy that they were trying to give me or not. But I know that for a fact I did not want the other person's toy because I didn't earn it. And what I ended up coming to the conclusion to in reprogramming the memory is that I didn't take the toy from the other child who was just trying to get me to not feel so sad anymore. The other kids were like, why is he so upset? And they were probably thinking, well, we cheated the win. Why is he making such a big deal about it? And I don't know. I was always this very like, I have to do the right thing. And as I got older and started to see how suppressive that a lot of the ideas about what the right thing were, I became much more rebellious, and it's the balance of both, I guess. So I had to reprogram this memory, and the memory kind of concluded with, my teacher consoling me, or not really consoling me. It wasn't very loving. It was more of this like pull your bootstraps up kind of story, where she was saying to me like no one else would have done something like that. No one would have confessed to it. You should be very proud of yourself for how good you are for doing this, for confessing, for doing the right thing. Though before that there was this like, letting me wallow in the emotion forever, letting me wallow in the emotion forever. So it really left a pretty deep impact on me, and I definitely, went back to this memory several times in my inner child work, though I never fully got through the integration of it up until this last time when I really went fully back into it one more time. And that's something that happens with inner child work, is that sometimes the memories that we have to clear, we have to do it again, we have to reprogram it again, because sometimes the first time it doesn't fully sink in. And I'm learning that it's not something that you need to do, like try to clear as much as you can, as quickly as you can. It's more like the process of your life will allow you to find the memories and find the traumas that need to heal when they need to heal and when it's most appropriate for that. So now was the time, and in clearing this memory I discovered a lot of things. And first was really about this really core thing of the self-concept, because on one hand, this memory is nowhere near as traumatic as many of the other memories I experienced. I grew up as a child of divorce from the age of 2. My family was always fighting, so inner child work is always about these core fragmentations that occur when one part of you is acceptable and another part is not. And I was going back and forth between 2 different parents who were fighting, so I was not really allowed to have like a full alliance with either of them, because they were trying to pin me against each other. So in a sense, I was a lot more fragmented than some people are. And Teal Swan, who's informed my understanding of this process more than any other teacher, says that people who are drawn to spirituality are the most fragmented of all people, because it is often through that great, great pain and that great experience of separation that we're inspired to awaken more. So a lot of other memories were a lot more traumatic than this memory for me, though this memory, discovering it and encountering it was a big process, and it changed a lot for me because, for one, I learned at this time that, like, when you do something wrong, it's good to be punished for it. That period of time where I was laying and sobbing and getting myself all wet, having tissues everywhere, cold desk, just crying and crying, my teacher was just not there, and the children were trying to console me, but I wouldn't have it because, I was getting this message from the one that I wanted the attention from, that I didn't deserve it and that I was bad. And then later given the opposite message, that I should be proud of myself for doing the right thing. And at that moment, what was implanted in me was both this very strong neglect of the part of me that feels shame, like I just have to tough it out, and also this very strong idea that I did the right thing and I'm better than others, and my punishment of myself makes me better than others, in fact. And this played out in a lot of the ways that I engage with spiritual practice. And a lot of spiritual practice, when it has its kind of influence from the Christian approach of the idea of being a sinner and all of this shit, is really infiltrated with this deep shame consciousness that keeps somebody lower than a god or an authority figure outside of them. And this is, okay, let's not go into the metaphysical wooey stuff about this. Let's be really practical. Maybe someone who's not in this whole channeling business will check out this video and get something from it, because you don't need to believe in all of the extraterrestrials and angels in order to get the depth of this inner child work, though you probably should check those spirit guides out too. Anyway, so that was the core of it, was really that I got this sense really reinforced in me at the time that I was the better person. And this belief system is really a deep separation from others. When you see yourself as better, morally superior, or more honest than other people, you behave in a way that continues to further that separation. And I see some people who are like gaining momentum as leaders who are not connected at the deep emotional level with their followers. And I've seen in the past, like, some people put me on pedestals. That is definitely not what I like, and I knock myself purposely off the pedestal because I like to engage with people at that equal heart level, with the understanding that, of course, I am offering something to them that they need an outside support with, but that does not make me more better, worth more, or anything like that. Though, there was still some conditioning from this memory, but the deeper conditioning from this memory was more of like this consolation that the other kids were offering me, like, take the toy, it's going to make you feel better, just take this, like, from us. And that kind of gave me an aversion to having things at all, because, oh, I did wrong by, acting out and cheating to get this, I don't deserve it. And a big challenge for me in my life has been holding on to things and really appreciating things, appreciating having material things as much as, like, I do want them in order to, further expand myself. Sometimes it's like this feeling of a lack of deserving. And I've overcome that with the inner child work a lot, because I was really, there's been a lot of shame given with gifts that have sort of made me averse. I've never felt comfortable receiving, and this was one of many memories that were sort of tinged with that sort of emotional overlay. And how I healed this memory, so if you haven't watched the inner child work video and don't know what this is all about, part of it is that you re-experience all the emotions, you release that energy, you go back as a third party to speak with your inner child and ask them what they need. My inner child did not want that toy. He wanted them to forget about giving him the toy, and he wanted the love and support of me and the other children. The other children were really enthralled to see me. They felt my energy, and they're like, wow, who's older Dante? And I taught them all about the things I'd learned and shared with them about my travels. Instantly, my teacher was kind of taken out of the picture, as Teal Swan, who again was one of my mentors in this process, just came and started lecturing my teacher about not neglecting the hurt child and different things like this. And that was very fun. There was like my inner child in this process wanted to experience a lot of different things. So my inner child wanted to go up to the heavens, and my inner child from this age showed me that he just wanted to know everything. And so my inner child was like, oh, show me all these places you've been, show me this, show me that, can you show me God? And we talked to God, and then my inner child expressed to God, like, God, I just want to know everything. And God was like, well, you, not really God, that was the word my inner child had for it. I used the word spirit or source because I feel like God is a loaded word that distorts our connection to source. My inner child wanted to see God, though, and God was like, you can't know everything, but you can know your connection to everything through me, and if you have that, you will know what you need to know. My inner child was really happy about that. My inner child also wanted to meet Satan. Was like, well, why does this exist, and what's going on? And so we brought all of the archangels who surrounded us all in this memory and released that energy of shame and filled instead the space with love, compassion. All the angels went down to hell in this vision with my inner child so he could meet Satan and just ask him why he was there and why he did the things he did. And really my inner child learned that the darkness is there for balance, and that it's just there to, be a force in the world to create separation, to create illusion, so that there is balance, and so that there is an experience of waking up, so that there is an understanding of the light and the darkness, and to not fear it, because when you bring love into that space, nothing can go wrong. As a child, I had a lot of different moral qualms all the time, and I was really fearing that I was doing the wrong thing. So my inner child really just wanted to know, and having had all of those experiences, then my inner child was really happy to integrate with me, and this inner child brought with him a love and a peace and like this playfulness, having released that shame and having explored that desire to know the good and the bad, and instead of holding on to that energy of like, oh, I did something so bad, or the worst flip side of it was like, oh, I was honest and humble, I am so much better now. So it's like this very false humility that is only humble and honest for the sake of being better. I guess there was still some of that in my system at a subconscious level because my inner child felt that way. And as I integrated him, there was this like huge weight off my shoulders, and a lot of things changed and opened up for me. And I was able to face a lot of experiences that before I would judge myself within or judge others within, and instead just be in the space of understanding balance. And as well as I spoke about entities, the entity came into me and began to, or an entity came into me and began to influence me during that memory because there was such a huge charge of shame. So, and it was sort of, feeding off that shame, feeding off that fear in the background since then. And I learned how to remove those beings and interact with them and work with them. And I'll make another video about that, but I wanted to keep this one less out there in case some people just wanted to have a straight experience of what the inner child work is about and what these issues are about. So, yeah. Following that integration again, it was beautiful, and don't want to make a second video. I'm going to pause for a second here. Yeah, I guess the point I want to emphasize before closing this video is that, when we first start the inner child work process, a lot of these really deep traumatic memories come of abuse and punishment and sort of being ostracized or bullied. Those are often the first memories, though the more insidious memories that are sometimes harder to work with are the memories where there is this sort of like, there's a distorted good and bad. Like, a good thing can happen, but a really hard emotion comes up during it, and we're told to like hold on to that emotion in this weird way, when we're like enforced with this sort of Christian degree of morality or anything of that nature. Those memories are some of the harder ones to get to, and I've learned through the process of inner child work that when we go through and like, oh, we have to clear this one out and clear that one out, get them all out of there right at once, it sometimes we have to rehash those memories again later. And for me, I'm at a point now where I've really done so much of the work of going so far into them and supporting so many people with this process that now I find that the course of life will bring a certain emotion up to in a recurring way, to the point that I'm like, I should investigate where that really comes from, and that's the point, to do the inner child work and really look deeper as to where is that coming from. And so yeah, if you are curious about doing this work, this is one of the practices and services I offer. I teach people how to do it, and I guide people through the process so that you can change your past, you can release these emotional charges, and you can find where are the roots of these really hard belief systems that you may encounter, these thought forms that don't go away. Clear them once and for all, or clear them bit by bit. Hopefully eventually it's once and for all. Sometimes there's so many layers to the memories and the beliefs that it takes some time, though instantly there is some experience of relief. There's more willingness to show up in vulnerability and play and lightness, because often that is what is suppressed. And when you reclaim that childlike joy, everything around you changes as well. You can bring that childlike innocence and light back into your being and back into the lives of those around you. That's what we need so much in the world, is really this pure source innocence that all children come in with, this willingness to love each other, and this beauty, this play. That is it. And if people stayed in that state, we would all feel connected to each other continuously. If we weren't forced into these rules and these beliefs and these restrictions that separate us, we would still be playing in that childlike wonder, and everyone has the call to go there. When you do this work, people start to interact with you differently as well, because you have more of that light and that joy reclaimed within yourself. And yeah. So don't question the validity or the importance of doing processes like this. My experience and the experience of people that I know doing this work and who have done this work with me is that when you really bring your inner child back to life, everything around you changes, and the way people see you, the light that you bring changes. It becomes clearer, and you become more whole, and you will know why the changes that come into your life are coming from doing the work. So it really is about being the change, changing ourselves, and seeing it change around us. Anyway, I really hope you like this video, and I will make more about how perhaps these entities come into the picture and how to work with that, and even more as I discovered, moving on from this memory, that there were memories early in my childhood that were like a repression of childhood sexuality. Simply not educating children about their sexual nature is a degree of trauma, especially when there is physical touch, and children are not taught what sexuality is, what their body is, because children do have sexual energy, yet they're not allowed to connect with it. And bringing the child back into the picture there and teaching the child about their body, it allows you to be more fully in your own body as well, in a beautiful way. That's been my experience, at least. So I'll end this video for now. Thank you for watching, sending you lots of love, light, and joy, and all the best things, and catch you next time.